This video is the second in a series describing the set of display components available in the Maretron N2KView vessel monitoring and control system. These are the indicators and the switch controls used for monitoring and controlling values that are either on or off, and the specialized composite display components for water makers, air conditioners, and ice makers. Indicators display the status of devices such as doors that are open or closed, lights that are on or off, pumps that are running or not running, smoke detectors, and bilge water detectors. Some of these devices are capable of reporting an error condition as well, like a smoke detector having a low battery, so indicators will show one of 3 different colors. These colors are set when the favorite screens are created. This control is the standard indicator light. The title is now centered in the component, and the background color of the component changes as the status of the device being monitored changes. If no data is present on the network for this component, the background color will be gray. There are some specialized versions of the indicator component. The first is the small indicator light. While this can be used in any favorite screen, it is normally overlaid on a diagram of the vessel. Being small, it fits nicely over the diagram without hiding too much of the diagram. The amount of text that can be displayed in the title of this component is very limited, so the position of the component on the diagram gives it context. Here, there are many small indicator lights that show fire or carbon monoxide detectors, and their location on the diagram shows where the fire has been detected. Another variation of the indicator control are the indicator beams. These are designed to be used to show lights on top of a diagram. They contain no title and may be invisible when the light is switched off. Values reported as indicator values can also be counted and timed, so you can get the runtime of a device like a bilge pump, or see how many times it had been switched on. The time at which the counting or timing started is reported as part of the main display. Both of these components have a reset button in the bottom left. Pressing the reset button will reset the count to 0 or reset the time to 0. Indicator values can also be plotted using the indicator graph component. The most recent value is always at the right of the graph, and time goes backwards to the left. The period between the left and right edges of the graph is displayed under the graph, and this can be changed by pressing the up and down arrows on either side of it. Pressing the up button will increase the period to a maximum of 4 days. Pressing the down button will decrease the period to a minimum of 1 minute. Taking a closer look at the values on the graph, you can see that the color of the graph follows the color of the indicator, and moving the cursor over the graph will show the times at which the values change state. Now we will move on to N2KView's capability to control switches. The DC system screen is a typical favorite screen containing most of the features for switches. In the middle is a switch, or circuit breaker, component. This looks like a typical rocker switch found on your DC panel, and it works in the same way. Press the off side and it switches off. Press the on side and it switches on. Notice how the background of the on text changes to green when the circuit is switched on. The display of the switch always reflects what is happening in the switch itself. When you press the off side of the component, a command is sent to the switch and it turns off. Only then does the switch send a new status message back to N2KView over the NMEA 2000 bus, and the component changes to reflect the new off status. While you can monitor the state of a switch with the base version of N2KView, the optional control module must be licensed in order to control the switches from N2KView. If you have not licensed the control module and attempt to change a switch, you will see a not licensed message displayed. Some switches can be configured to have a momentary action, like a push button. The switch will only stay on while it is being pressed. Take your finger off the switch and it immediately turns off. The foghorn would be a good example of that. Press the button to sound the horn, and as soon as you take your finger off the switch, the horn stops sounding. Circuit breakers can also report a status of tripped. If this happens, the switch will show trip on a red background. You can attempt to reset the tripped switch in the same way you would a physical circuit breaker. First turn it off, and then back on. For safety reasons, switches may also be locked in either the on or off position. These switches are marked with a yellow padlock and will not respond to attempts to switch them. There are some other components that display and control switch status. They are the push-button switches and have exactly the same functionality as the rocker switch. Here we can see the metallic push buttons. The color of the ring and the text are custom set for the on, off, and trip values during the creation of the favorite screen. These buttons have been set to show green when they are on and black when off, and flashing red when tripped. Touching the button will change it from the off state to the on state, and then another touch changes it back to the off state. As before, locked push buttons are marked with a yellow padlock. The backlit push buttons show the color over the whole button. Like the metallic push button, this color is custom set during the creation of the favorite screen. Here, the aft cabin outlets have been tripped. This condition is clearly seen by the flashing display, and we can try to reset it remotely by pressing once to switch it off and then again to switch it back on. The wide push button separates the text from the color and allows more text to be displayed. You can press anywhere on the component to switch it on or off. Just like the other buttons, we can see the yellow padlock when the switches are locked and the flashing color when they are tripped. All these buttons can be configured to have a momentary action. Now, the circuit will only be switched on while your finger is on the button. Again, the foghorn is a good example of that. Press the button to sound the horn, and as soon as you take your finger off the button, the horn stops sounding. The next three component types in this video are composite components that monitor and control specific types of equipment. This one monitors a sea recovery Watermaker, giving you the pressures and flow rates. If you have licensed the optional control module of N2KView, you may control the Watermaker from this screen by pressing the buttons at the bottom of the component. Performing an emergency stop on a Watermaker is not a good idea unless it really is an emergency, so pressing this button will pop up a confirmation that must be pressed within 5 seconds to actually send the command. Dometic air conditioners may be monitored remotely with the air conditioner component. If you have the optional control module for N2KView licensed, then you can change the set point temperature and fan speed remotely. This comes in very handy if you are running a remote N2KView from your home. Your vessel can be nicely cooled down before you arrive. In a similar way, you can monitor and control your Dometic ice maker from any N2KView on or off the vessel. Pressing the display button will cycle through the currents and voltages reported by the ice maker. This concludes the second video of the series describing display components in the Maretron N2KView vessel monitoring and control system. Watch for more videos in this series describing more of the features of Maretron N2KView. Thanks for watching this video. Please visit our website at www.maretron.com to learn more.